Hey, good morning. It's day 208. It's been a very emotional morning for me. And last night too. This last zero in Monson has been kind of the last chance to connect with the people that make up the hiker community in a social sense. And I had found myself at the hostel where I only knew like 2 people, and we've been hiking together for the last handful of days prior. And the hostel I stayed at was great. It was good. It's just over the course of the last 24 to 36 hours, I started finding out that so many of the people that I've known on trail and haven't seen in a long time, and people I really wanted to connect with or hang out with or get to know better, people that I felt like I had a pretty good vibe with. So many of those people were over at the larger hostel across the street, and all day yesterday it was just kind of cold and rainy, and nobody was hanging out outside. There's not really a chance to mingle. So last night, laying in bed, I had a very emotional catharsis that I still felt like I couldn't fully release because I was in a room with 8 other people in the dark, realizing that this was our last chance to connect on a social level, and I wasn't able to capitalize on that. Or this morning I popped over to Shaw's to buy some last minute supplies, and thought I saw somebody from the back, but assumed it couldn't have possibly be them. I hadn't seen them in 4 months at this point. And then I was walking back through the Shaw's complex back towards Lena's, and she pokes her head out of the door and is like, "Is that Don Quixote?" And we had a sentimental reunion. I was very hard pressed not to break down, because whenever I talk about this, I get emotional. I'm going to miss all these people that on some level, I feel like I never quite got the chance to know, but wanted to. And at times have been going out of my way to try to get to know, to try to put myself in a position to stay across their path, so to speak. Kind of feeling like I'm looking in through a window. That's just the way it feels. I'm not saying that's the way it is, or that anybody has an agenda or ulterior motives, or it's just the way it ended up happening, but it still feels the way it feels to me. And up until now, I could always imagine that we'll reunite around a campfire or at a shelter one day. But next time we're all in town together, and those are like the kind of memories that build. But like Monson was, in essence, the last chance for that. And we were all just holed up in our bunks looking at our phones because it's pouring rain outside. And that was my experience. I mean, I don't have regrets. I just also, at the same time, wish I'd had more exposure to the people I wanted to get to know. Worldwide made the joke that, as great as the guy you are, I don't think I'm gonna cry when we say goodbye. And I said, I think I probably will. And it's probably not because of you, it's just because of the fact that this whole experience is over now. And part of me is sad that it could have been so much more, but part of me is just sad that it's over. I've got 1 more week. I've got 8 more days on trail. So who knows? But this is the kind of connections that so many people made so many months ago. I've always been just outside the bubbles where those connections were being made. I was looking back at my spreadsheet, and there's just like month-long gaps between even hiking with people where we could talk while we're walking, or even spending the night at a shelter for more than one night in a row with the same people or anything like that. It's just been a weird, kind of lonely experience with those little spikes of feeling connected to the community that then disappear less than a week later or just a couple of days later. I don't feel like I've been rejected by the trail community as such. I just feel like nothing ever coalesced, and everybody I talk to on some level feels like they had a gang or a tribe or a squad or a flock. Somebody used the word flock that they consider theirs, even if they're not part of it right now. And of all the things I feel like I was looking for on trail, that was one of them that never came to pass. Anyway, that's a lot of footage I just recorded. I'm gonna have to chop that up into pieces that make sense. But I was chatting about some of this with my mom this morning, and she said, "Be sure. I hope you continue to record this stuff on video." So I'm sure some pieces of it will make it in there, and I'll edit out all the sniffling because I can't sit here and blow my nose every 3 steps while I'm also hiking. I'll never get to Katahdin. Oh yeah, I guess I'm now entering the 100-mile wilderness. It wasn't back there, it was up this road crossing. So, all the warnings and a registration box, which I need to figure that out. I think it folds down this way. Come on, there it is. Well, there's no paper left. Is it BYO paper? So what's funny is, there's one little scrap of paper left, and people have been using it to sign in, because these are all names I recognize. Flash, Queen of the Dairy, Radagas, Hungry, Lim Lam I met Flash, I met Lim Lam. Midnight Google I met. Rocky Bidet I've met. Spot I don't think I have. And then Low Main. That's today, so I'm gonna sign in after Low Main. So I was reading, this is Little Wilson Falls. We go alongside it. Oh wow. We go alongside it for a while, and then a quarter mile down we cross the stream. And that one says sometimes you can get across dry and sometimes you can't. So it'll depend on the water levels and where the rocks are exposed. But this is a nice falls. So it's like a 60-foot drop into a slate canyon. All right, this is where we're supposed to cross. Ooh, that looks pretty. But this is where we're supposed to cross. There's the trail on the other side. And this looks very tempting. Is that one rock right there is wet. It's under maybe an inch of water. Actually, I just glanced downstream and I think this is the better option. Dun, dun, dun. That. Yeah, I think that's totally doable. And then once you're on those big rocks, it's just, you're on land. Let's try that. Let's go back up the trail. I may need to bushwhack down to the creek a little bit up here. Did it. You can see my footprints on each rock that I stepped on. That was a big step right there. I had to step on that wet rock, but it wasn't bad. I don't like having much water. This feels like just the sort of place to spot a moose, but I suspect you'd have to be here at dusk or dawn, perhaps. Just 3 miles to go, by the way. So on the short side of hour and a half, it's 4 o'clock right now, so 5:30, thereabouts. It's probably the closest thing to a view today. That's a little pond we're just at. Kind of see it through the trees. And some gaps in the clouds, so some of this is reminding me of New Jersey a little bit. So just checking the far out. I'm 2 miles from the shelter. So, you know, just short of an hour, maybe probably a whole hour since I've got 2 stream crossings. Second one says there's no dry crossing on the AT. So applying to get wet. It's about knee deep, depending on rain. And then Stick the Eagle, who went through here like a week ago, and he's 6'3" or something like that. He said it was knee deep on him, and that was before yesterday's rain. So your mileage may vary. So I'm gonna have to take my shoes off in about a little less than a mile and a half. There's nice little streams here. I just went down. It's not the most sanitary thing in the world, but I just went down and my hiking pole flew up and hit me in the mouth. It didn't cut the top lip, but it cut the bottom lip, but it struck me right across like that. Like it flew up like this. You know, I don't know which part, but I was coming down. Let's see. I was coming down this slope and on this rock right here. My foot slipped out and my pole slipped out and did a flipped up around my, pivoted around my wrist and whacked me in the face as I fell on my butt, and my elbow hit like right there, and my butt hit right there, and this pole did that whack. So I figured out how to make my lip stop bleeding. It probably will on its own in here in a second, but looks like there once was a bridge. Here is what we're dealing with. Looks like there's a nice little stretch of rocks where you get all the way over to that one, but then there's the rapids you have to cross, high current. Or right here where the AT is straight across and it's calm but wide and not nearly as deep. So I'm gonna go this way. Either way we're getting wet, so I'm gonna take off my shoes. Well, I made it across, but it was probably thigh deep on me. I'm 5'7", at the deepest part. And at one point, and I was in the deepest part, I lost my footing because of the rocks being slippery and the current and everything, but mainly the rocks being slippery, I think, and went down. But I went down forward and caught myself with my arms, so the whole front of me got soaked. My shirt, my Skittles in my breast pocket, my fanny pack, and then like the phone on my backpack. I mean, the phone's fine, it's just everything's wet. So, I'm not sure what to do here, clothing-wise. It's 0.7 miles to the shelter, so I may just like roll up my sleeves and gut it out to the shelter with this dripping wet shirt, and just hang everything up when I get there. I know there's another hiker behind me today, in our kind of, not really in our group, but from the hostel. So I don't know if he's going to be happening along anytime soon, but I'm wondering if I should wait for him. But then if he had decided to stop somewhere before he got here, that may be a wasted effort. I think I need to get into the shelter and get in some dry clothes. It's not cold or anything, it's just uncomfortable. I'm dripping right now. And I've got wet Skittles in my pocket, so let me take care of that. All right, I'm back on trail. I totally forgot what time it was when I was talking about the time earlier. It's actually like 5:45 right now. So 0.7, I should be camp just a little bit past 6. And I believe it's well, obviously it's a climb. I just left the river, so that's the low point in the local terrain. I gotta climb up here, and about half mile there's a railroad track, and then 0.2 or so past that is the shelter. So here we go. There's some antique wires. I think we're coming up on the railroad track. That railroad track smell. Where's my trail?